A couple of years ago, Volkswagen introduced their first fully dedicated battery electric vehicle to the US called the ID.4. And today, I'm at the 2023 Consumer Electronics Show where the company is ready to show off the next chapter of the ID family, a fully dedicated premium all-electric sedan. This is the 2024 Volkswagen ID.7. Let's take a first look. So in the world of SUV-hungry buyers, it's always refreshing to see a brand new sedan being introduced, let alone an electric sedan. So let's go ahead and start talking about what the ID.7 is going to be when it is introduced to the US market in early 2024. Now, just like the ID.4, this is built off of the MEB architecture. So it's a skateboard, dedicated battery electric platform. And although Volkswagen wasn't quite ready to talk about the powertrain specs and the battery capacity, I do want to mention here that they did announce that this car should be capable of going 700 miles on, or 700 kilometers, I'm sorry, on a full charge. That is, of course, the European WLTP rating scale, which means when you convert that to mileage, it's around 435. Volkswagen is being conservative with their estimates. They're targeting at least 300 miles on a full charge in the US market when this goes on sale in early 2024. Now, because it's the MEB architecture, we're going to assume it'll offer either a choice of a single motor rear-wheel drive and dual motor all-wheel drive. We don't know the battery capacity sizes just yet, but I'm going to assume also that this is probably going to be a larger battery pack because of the range that's going to be a little bit more versus what you get in the top versions of the ID.4. But let's go ahead and talk about the styling of the ID.7. Now, this vehicle is based off of the id.aero concept that they showed in China a couple of years ago, and this vehicle basically focuses on aerodynamics. You can see the front fascia is covered with all of this camouflage on the vehicle, but you can see no grille, obviously. You're gonna have the signature ID style full LED headlights, which they're IQ light technology. There also should be a light blade that connects the two headlight modules together. You can see down here in the lower fascia, Volkswagen was wanting me to point out how there's these active air flaps here that allow air to kind of channel through and pass over the vehicle. They weren't ready to talk about the coefficient of drag for this vehicle just yet, but they are targeting around 0.23, 0.24 coefficient of drag. The vehicle's main competitor for me is most likely going to be the just introduced Hyundai Ioniq 6. Remember, this is going to be a flagship sedan, and the ID.7 name is certainly interesting because a lot of people thought that this name would go with an all-electric SUV that has 3 rows of seating. However, because it's called the ID.7, it kind of opens up Volkswagen to use the name for both an SUV and a sedan because the ID.7, the number 7 is supposed to be in the hierarchy of the lineup. So that's why Volkswagen is going to build this as the flagship model of the ID family. Now, looking at the side profile, you can see very beautiful kind of aerodynamic shape or silhouette. This is a big vehicle. Its wheelbase has been stretched to 116.9 inches. Its overall length, Volkswagen says, is 194.5 inches. Now, if you're keeping score, that is about the same size as the Volkswagen Arteon, which I suspect this car is going to eventually replace the Arteon. So kind of think of this thing as an all-electric version of the Arteon. Volkswagen also says the height is a little over 60 inches. That's because of the MEB architecture. The battery lines the floor, so they had to raise up the roof to give you all of that interior space. And this vehicle is about 73 inches wide. So it's on the wider end and on the taller end for a sedan. You can see this is a very early prototype. There is a glass roof, which I suspect will be making it to production. There's also these very flush door handles here, which again is all for aerodynamics. This is pretty similar to what you find on the ID.4 as well. And then over here, looking at the rear, you can see this is where the charge port door is going to be. We can't talk about any charging ratings yet, but you should know that the MEB architecture is still running on the 400-volt system and can accept up to 150 kilowatts. Now, looking at the rear of the vehicle, let's talk about the styling of the car. Now, first of all, this is going to be a sedan. VW did confirm with me that it is not going to be a liftback. And in terms of the rear area, you can see it's pretty well camouflaged on this model here. You can see it's got these full LED taillights. Unlike the Hyundai Ioniq 6, which is going to be the main competitor, you're going to notice that the rear shape is not quite as sloping. It doesn't have quite that teardrop shape, which means Volkswagen was focusing heavily on interior space. They wanted to make sure you had more headroom in the back seat and you also had more interior space. That's something, again, that the Ioniq 6 probably is going to have to compromise. Underneath here, obviously, you can see there's these well-integrated parking sensors, obviously no visible exhaust tips, but I do see some hints here of cars like the Volkswagen Jetta, the Volkswagen Passat, the Arteon. Remember, this is going to be the flagship of the ID family, so overall, it's going to have kind of a premium, more understated, more Audi-like look. So this is a very early prototype, so sadly, I can't show you guys the interior yet. However, Volkswagen did release some pictures, so we'll show you guys what they showed us in the B-roll specs. But in terms of the interior, this will have a 15-inch infotainment touchscreen in the center. It's got a new software-based infotainment system, so it's been updated versus the one you get in the ID.4. Volkswagen says the software is new. You have a smaller digital cockpit display and its first ever augmented reality heads-up display, which again is very premium, taking a lot of cues from other luxury manufacturers. The touch slider controls in the center of Volkswagen says are illuminated, and it has these new smart air vent systems, which basically allow the air to be motorized and active to quickly cool or heat the cabin for those of you who live in a hotter state or in a colder state. The vehicle also has the ability to recognize you as you approach the vehicle. It'll automatically start the climate control and start cooling or heating the vehicle up. So it's going to have a lot of great technology in the car. It also seems to have a really nice design to it, and I'm looking forward to finally sitting inside because Volkswagen is going to claim this will have one of the roomiest cabins in the segment. Now, one thing I forgot to talk about are the wheels of this vehicle. Remember, this is going to be their flagship premium sedan, and this model here, very early prototype, has these attractively styled, aerodynamic style 20-inch wheel. You can see it's a 20-inch wheel. It has a 235 width tire in the front. Surprisingly, it actually has a staggered width tire in the back, 255. So that kind of leads me to believe that Volkswagen is going to give this car a more powerful rear electric motor whenever they decide to talk about the specs. I also noticed that this model here also has power folding mirrors. There is a panoramic glass roof, which I suspect this doesn't open, but again, it's going to allow a lot more lighting into the cabin. And then the charge port door is going to be right here, which we don't know quite the final charge point specs, but you should know that the ID.4 runs on the 400-volt architecture. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the ID.7 here in America, Volkswagen is telling us that it will be going on sale in the US, most likely in early 2024. It's going to be in Europe sooner, at the end of this year. And of course, they're not ready to talk about pricing just yet, but you could probably guess where the pricing is going to be by looking at the Arteon. I'm going to say this car will probably start in the mid $40,000 range, and it'll only go up from there. But they also did confirm that this vehicle will not be built at the Chattanooga plant. So for those of you who are thinking it might qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit here in the US, sadly this won't, because unlike the ID.4, this will be built in Europe as opposed to in Chattanooga. All that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my pretty detailed overlook on this 2024 Volkswagen ID.7. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook. As always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.